lot of players, unless it's like support players, for example. But we're seeing a lot of teams now kind of realize what they've actually got and stick with the comps that have the ultimates. You know, we've seen a little bit of Genji play, like you said, and we've seen some teams like switch off near 80% Dragon Blade, and it's like, okay, we're not going to be able to use this because the enemy team is running 3-3. But when they do end up sticking on it, it actually works out incredibly well, as long as it's obviously coupled with the nano boost. So it's been cool to see the small evolution of how the teams do end up facing these comps that are a little bit out of the water sometimes.
Well, speaking of out of order, underwater squad are going to be starting off on the offense, and we're going to be going for 3-3 versus 3-3, as is the tradition for most competitive Overwatch right now. Baboon going to be trying to claim some space, wants to try and play around this corner as Derek uses his bubbles to build up that all-important energy. Yeah,
I meant off the wall, but underwater squad, I don't know, man. King ends up going down, Icy Spec, off the reef, yeah. The duplicate is going to follow him, by the way. 3 minutes and 20 seconds remaining, and already underwater squad just driving through phase 2. It is their map choice, of course. I mean, maybe this is their map of choice to get. I don't know what. Like I said that twice. I meant their favorite map. I don't know what's going on.
Take a breath, Jules. Take a breath.
Yeah,
Underwater squad, they're taking advantage of the fact that phase 2 wants to play around that corner, but because they are playing around that corner, their only real retreat, which would have given Duplicate some physical cover, would be to go into that mini-pack room. And once he's in that mini-pack room, he can be very easily enclosed and taken away. Duplicate, once again, is going to be playing where he can only really retreat into a mini-pack room if they manage to get around this corner. Where's he going to go, Jaws? Baboon's trying to corner him right now. He's got to move back.
Please kill Faz. He is getting away with way too much. Nice shatter. Straight into the micro missiles. Kill off King, Faz, Onyx, and Nishig. Thank you very much. You just gifted us a phenomenal time bank coming out of point number 1, and now we have 6 minutes and 30 seconds to cap a couple of ticks. There's one. A Graviton Surge gets thrown out nearer the spawn, so no one can actually touch. Faz exits on the right-hand door, predicting that, but still couldn't get back to the point in time. That is a 6-minute plus time bank, Harry. That was 2 instantaneous caps.
So in case you guys didn't know in the chat, this was a map choice of Underwater Squad, and I think I can see why. They appear to have this down pat. Either that, or they know how Duplicate plays this map, which I wouldn't be surprised about, because twice now I do think Duplicate's positioning on that Reinhardt, not being able to play around corners as well, has been to the detriment of phase 2. We saw him play in that central sort of pillar, but his team weren't aggressive enough for him to allow him to actually hold that corner, which meant that Baboon could just run in through the door. And then where's Duplicate going to go if he doesn't have his shield up? You need to be able to cycle your shield so effectively as a Reinhardt if you want to be able to stay in that fight, but you can't do so if you just have to basically back up in a vertical line backwards, because you don't have any physical cover between you and the enemies, and Yardi are going to be pelted with the orbs, pelted with the mortars, and well, it does mean that it was very easy to circumvent the defensive line that Duplicate was showing.
Well, they get the chance to attack. Hopefully phase 2 can claim a semblance of the same time bank as Underwater Squad. 6.5 minutes is pretty insane. 2.5 minutes more than they were giving initially, of course. But Underwater Squad still running the 3-3. We've seen a little bit of variation on this map over the last week or so, Harry. We have seen a bit of Ashe, a bit of Widow, just more DPS favored comps, even a bit of Pharah as well. It's just both clearly prefer the 3-3, especially when running headfirst into each other. And I think as soon as Underwater Squad finds Faz, or like even punish him a little bit more, it's going to be more than easy for them to do to actually just take games and maps off of phase 2.
Look at the split formation here from Underwater Squad. We've got Baboon, Kevin, and Panic on one high ground, and Derek, Icy, and Reptile are going to play around the other. So I wonder how this is going to work. I imagine they may well collapse onto a team as they try and move through the crevice between, but it is in fact going to be Duplicate circumventing both of those and taking position on the point, going to force Baboon down to keep this contested. Kevin and Icy will join him, but Reptile and Derek still up ahead.
Derek's above right now. Pika tried to use those thrusters to boop him down, but wasn't quite so lucky. And look at all the damage that's coming through from Derek and Baboon as well. He just had such a vantage point on the back line. He's already been able to do a fair bit of damage and chunk to the front line. Already has 40% Graviton charge as well. You can see why they want him on this high ground. And phase 2 just completely ignored him. Pika tried to push him off, but there was just nothing that could be done as soon as the mobility cooldown was actually used.
Yeah, Pika managed to get him the second time. If we think about that, that's 2 investments of thrusters and a lot of Pika's time being given to just trying to move Derek, not even kill him, just get him off the high ground. That's such an investment that it demands, because Derek is basically up here for free before the fight. And once again, we see the split. 3 on one side, 3 on the other. It means that you cannot actually grab one side as effectively. You'd have to like commit to only 3 of them, and then the other 3 can move to try and mitigate that as best as possible. Icy's going to be a little bit of a wall here, try and deny that health pack from them, but he's going to have to back off and move behind Baboon's shield if he doesn't want to be farmed for ult charge.
Oh, that boop again onto King, and Panic's just going to take his head off. We do see Derek finally off the high ground, but Icy is going to be there now as well. Pika potentially having to use those thrusters, but actually decides to use them to get away into the mega health pack room. And now you can see where Duplicate is. He hasn't got a wealth of healing to him either. Has to rely on that Zen healing orb and that mega health pack. A Transcendence has been used by Phase 2 to stop all the damage coming through from Baboon, but look at all the ults available for them. A Graviton Surge does drag 2 together on the side of Phase 2, and a beat is going to have to suffice for the amount of healing that's going to come out. No Transcendence is available as they used it at the start. Duplicate ends up going down to the self-destruct, and the rest of Phase 2 are going to have to reset straight off the map.
King's going to luckily get out there, but there's such an advantage now for Panic. He can now use his Transcendence at his leisure, because he knows that Nishik's already used his, and there'll be an infinite advantage in terms of healing for Underwater Squad if they take an engagement. Look, they've actually swapped up their comp slightly. They've actually taken Kevin on this upper high ground. He is actually going to rotate around. I wonder if there was going to be a little bit of an isomer of their strategy. But this split jaws, this is something that I haven't seen before from defensive 3-3s. This seems to be working out perfectly for Underwater Squad, and it is their map choice, so this must be a pretty established strategy for them.
You say Panic has that Transcendence, he might have to use it on this grab. The self-destruct is going to come out, the shield has been removed, but Derek blocking the majority of that damage for the rest of his team, using that personal barrier. Baboon wasn't quite so lucky as he was getting charged against the wall and ends up going down. Pika finds another kill as well in Kevin, and finally, they are able to crack the defense of Underwater Squad. 3 minutes were used, Harry, which means going on to the next point, they're going to have a smaller time bank than Underwater Squad right now.
That is absolutely guaranteed. Phase 2 a little bit shook right now, and they don't have any major offensive tools to try and make the second point attack work. Duplicate's going to have the shadow of his life right now if he wants to be able to command all the attention and potentially a victory here on point B. But I don't know if a shadow is going to be enough when we talk about how valuable the idea of attrition is on assault maps. They're so close to their spawn. You can see Baboon is much more effectively playing around these corners. He's going to have a lot more physical cover to exploit if he moves to his left.
Yeah, and the supports as well. Like, you can see Panic on the high ground. He's going to be able to rain fire from above. Onyx gets pushed off as well as Faz from the high ground again. Underwater Squad just know exactly where they want to position. This is perfect from them. But the only person that's not on high ground is Derek right now. The shadow goes straight wide into half of Baboon's shield. No one ends up going down. Baboon 20% of the way from his as well. Duplicate gets jumped on. He is discorded as well, so he's taking additional damage from that too. Kevin ends up securing the kill on him, and Derek is just running rampage in the back line. There will be a stray Zenyatta in Nishik actually in the back also of Underwater Squad, taking out Baboon, but they have got spawn advantage, which means Phase 2 are going to have to go for the big reset.
I don't mean to laugh at Duplicate Shadow there, but Kevin was just holding up his shield as a breeder going like, am I a joke to you? What do you think is going to happen here? Just shadowing into so many shields. He thought he maybe had a read on Baboon. But look, Baboon, once again, playing around with physical cover. This is what I keep complaining about when it comes to Duplicate's approaches. And when they back off, they make sure that Duplicate has to go into an area where he has to make such a commute if he wants to be able to have some physical cover for his shield and for himself. And because he has to do that, so much ult charge can be gained from him as he retreats. Look, where's he going to go here for that physical cover? He has to go all the way to the side.
The Graviton Surge is going to be a solo one. That's not quite so lucky for Underwater Squad, whose self-destruct gets launched straight on in. Duplicate gets shield slammed, and he will end up going down. Baboon lays down that shadow, but he gets cancelled by Faz. A little bit too risky. You can't be that low HP and lay down that shadow without it being punished. King is going to receive a whole lot of shielding as the sound barrier comes out from Faz. He was going low, but Derek's now on the emergency wrecking ball, trying to clear out Onyx, who gets isolated in the corner with no support available.
Nishik's not really having fun right now. Baboon's moving forward. Duplicate stunned on the floor. Will they be able to finish him off? Does look like Underwater Squad going to be able to brawl this one out. And I wonder what happened to Reptile's beat. He may well have used it, but I didn't really see that much efficacy. Maybe I just missed it, but there's a potential that he got stunned midway through the cast of the beat, potentially by a shield bash from King. But Phase 2 here. They managed to actually take out Derek in that Graviton despite not being able to get much out of a self-destruct. And that was because Baboon didn't really time his shielding very well. Baboon just held his shield towards the self-destructs like consistently for like 3 seconds. And it meant that people could just run around behind and kill Derek anyway.
Oh, big boop onto Baboon. Faz gonna find one. There's a self-destruct in the back line. Everybody scurries for cover. Oh no! Oh, icy. Perfect position. And you can see Baboon as well charging in. Removes the shield of Duplicate and 2 end up going down. 5, 6 members now falling for phase 2. A complete team kill for Underwater Squad. And again, phase 2 are now on only a couple of attacks, really. We are 1 minute and 30 seconds away from Underwater Squad claiming this map.
Yeah, let's take stock of time as well. 1 minute and 30 seconds versus 6.5 minutes. Even if phase 2 do manage to cap this draws, it's going to be awfully difficult. They may even give extra time over to Underwater Squad. Baboon is going to back off right here. May want to try and find himself some good cover, but he can also be incredibly aggressive. He knows he does have the Earth Shadow, but Duplicate has it too. Aggression will be punished.
Ooh, that grab and the Transcender's coming in a little bit late, but it doesn't seem to matter. That self-destruct will go off and Baboon ends up going down to the damage of Onyx. The Shadow also is going to connect with at least 2 people, but Reptile and Derek are going to be able to get out in time. Another beat comes through from Underwater Squad as Icy gets stunned in the front line, but is a little bit too far forward to actually salvage his own mech and ends up going down as well. Nishik feels it's time to use that Transcendence as the rest of Underwater Squad are going to be able to reconvene on the point.
Baboon wants to enter for 3. Second tick has been acquired here for phase 2. They're backing off. Panic was their target in the back, and now they can re-engage.
King is going to use that rally to re-engage with. That beat from Faz was nigh on perfect. Nishik popping heads as well, just clicking all over the place. Icy comes back into the fight as well, but 25 seconds remaining from phase 2. I mean, Underwater Squad, I could say they just maybe you'll just not give it up, but at the same vein, like, like, we've got 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Like, who cares? We've got a May coming out as well. She will end up going into the block. This is going to go to OT if she's not taken care of. Panic almost gets body blocked by Duplicate there. He uses that Transcendence. OT will end up triggering as well. A self-destruct onto the point as Onyx takes out the rest in his own Graviton Surge. Icy using that self-destruct, but he gets completely blocked up by Onyx. Only the last couple of people now staggering themselves onto that point. They end up full capping in the end. But like my head still it is confused, right? Underwater Squad have 6.5 minutes. How are phase 2 actually going to do this? They can't possibly just draw out this map now.
I don't even know, dude. Phase 2, they won't be able to take their match point here. That much is for certain. Actually, they will be able to take their match point here. They can win this series right now if they hold Underwater Squad for 6.5 minutes and don't give away a third of a point. If they can do that,
there's no way that's gonna happen.
But if they can, they will win the series because Underwater Squad will have a maximum scoreline of 2-1. But this is where Underwater Squad have one of the most probable chances in the world I've ever seen to begin the reverse sweep. They would have to take us to a map 5 tiebreaker if they want to claim the entirety of this series, but they are well poised to do so.
If this was Q, what would you do?
Nothing toxic.
Nothing toxic. Nice. You saved your career, Harry. Well done. Well, I just go goats, guys, I guess. Go 3-3, maybe we win. That's what they were gonna do anyway, but like, please don't die.
Just go goats.
Just go 3-3, please.
Please, guys, go goats.
To be fair, like, in this situation, you kind of have to. It's like the only real chance you have of fending off against 6.5 minutes when you know the other team is also going to run the 3-3. Well, Underwater Squad, this could be a one-push wonder. We'll have to wait and see. 6.5 minutes on the clock.
Duplicate going to be holding a little bit more aggressively this time. We'll have to see if Baboon wants to force him. They are actually going to move around again, but once again, Duplicate's in the same position, and Baboon's shown he knows how to exploit this. Derek's getting aggressive, wants to take away some of Duplicate's shield. They're going to try and catch him in the mini-room. He can't allow himself to get caught out in there. He needs to play even more aggressively here, Duplicate does.
Ah, Kevin's dead. Go for a reset, boys. Remember,
Kev's down.
Kev's down. We're going to have to reset. We only need 33%. No one feed ults.
Yeah, they just need one perfect fight. In fact, they could just save up for 6 ultimates, because Phase 2 can't afford to lose one fight. Phase 2 will always have to invest if they are under pressure in order to hold on to that point. Underwater Squad will feel no pressure until we get to around the 2-minute mark. It's going to be a different rotation this time. It's Onyx has already used his personal barrier. Could now be the attention of Derek. But look, Derek's once again playing up here. He won't get knocked off. He's still going to be able to farm up on Pika.
You can see fans like, please, Boop, come off cooldown. I need you to get off this box. Kevin is going to go down once again. Kevin, you're feeding at the moment, buddy. Like, you may have 6.5 minutes, but, you know, 1 minute and 20 seconds of that has already gone.
That's a lot of feed right there. And look at how aggressive phase 2 are being. They could get caught out here. If they are punished, it would be absolutely catastrophic because of how far they have to come back from spawn and how close underwater are to their own. Little bit of Australian coming through right there. Don't know how that happened. Uber's on the brain. Pika going to be scouting out, going to try and figure out what rotation Underwater Squad are going to prefer here, as they do have the Graviton Surge ready to go, but they know phase 2 are going to have such an ultimate advantage. Just try and force out a couple.
Nice Graviton Surge. Actually, that was on Kevin and Baboon. Panic doesn't want to use that Transcendence just yet, and there was no follow-up as well. A grab gets thrown in, there's 3 people are caught up. There's the self-destruct planted straight in the middle. One's going to go down already, but Pika also bites the dust from a melee from Icy. They are still trading, they still traded 1 for 1, but with the boom falling here, it's going to be a miracle play from Underwater Squad. Another self-destruct is launched on in. A vanilla one this time around as Duplicate ends up going down as well.
They're going to stay on point.
Emergency sound barrier to come through, as well as one coming through from Underwater Squad. They're going to have the overshield advantage now. They have to be able to touch the point where Onyx and King are already dead. Underwater Squad now have the spawn advantage. Nishik can't really do all too much. Baboom with the attempted shallow shower on Faz, but he's a little too hippity-hoppity to actually go down. But Underwater Squad, it was inevitable, Harry. They had a 6.5 minute time bank. They managed to cap 33% and keep them alive in the series.
I think Baboom was actually just shattering his own team. Like, why didn't you save me? I've just had to come back from respawn. What is this, my dude? Is Icy.
So Kevin, stop dying, please.
Yeah, like, there's a reason that first death was such an important statistic that Winston's lab pioneered. And it's something that I noticed a lot about Hope when he was playing Brigader in Open Division. He would often be the first pick, especially Square One often like to pick him off first. They really find these Brigaders. Oh, wait, what?
Yeah,
have we still lost Peggy? Okay, it says that you're in queue. My bad.
Okay. Are you okay, Harry?
Yeah, just a
You're
little
okay.
bit of a lobby bug. Just a little bit of a lobby bug.
Okay. You getting me worried then? I was like, what's going on, man? Well, it's going to end. We are going to go into Junkertown as our next map. This is obviously Phase 2's pick now. And Underwater Squad, posturing for a complete reverse sweep. Did happen yesterday, of course, with Skyfox's reverse sweep in Bermuda. It is in the realm of possibility, and Phase 2 need to clutch out this whip. They are still in a situation where they do not have a single series win on the board, and they potentially could be out of Contenders contention as well. So they need to clutch this out on Junkertown to even stand a chance of making it to those top spots.
Yeah, they may well already be out, but we gotta remember that Contenders Trials is also good for scouting, and a lot of these talent, especially the North American talent, really want to be able to show themselves off because, of course, Academy teams, they like to import draws. They like to import, but there is now the region lock rule, which means you can only have 3 non-resident players on your roster. So in North America, you need 3 resident North Americans, and a couple of people here are making a good case for themselves being included in those resident players, or even in the non-resident slots. They don't all import. I think Atlanta Academy is particularly good for homegrown North American talent.
Homegrown North American talent. Well, there's a lot of it, to be fair, in OWL. A little bit more EU, though, just to let you guys know. Only a little bit more, but, you know, EU, just a little bit ahead of NA in terms of population of OWL. The Korean talent, obviously, miles ahead of everybody else, but that's just the way it goes.
Just a tiny little bit ahead.
Just a tiny bit ahead. A lot of Apex players, so obviously they were.
I think it's only what 55% Koreans.
I think it's like 56 now at this point. Just with the new teams coming in, so
yeah. And that dog that NYXL got is definitely Korean.
Oh, so yeah, another one. The pets of OWL. Majority of them are Korean too. I know SBB's SBB's what are they called? Shebas, that's the one. Oh my god, they're adorable. I can imagine, I don't know for certain, but I can imagine there's already a Stan account for the pets of Overwatch League. There has to be at this point.
Pets of
there
OWL.
are too many. Yeah, the pets of OWL.
Why does no OWL team have an OWL though? These are the real questions.
Owls are pretty hard to keep, I guess. I don't know personally, but I can imagine they're hard to keep.
Maybe. There's a lot of space in California. I don't know.
That is true.
Well, speaking of space, there's going to be none available here for Underwater Squad. Phase 2 going to be right at their doorway. Duplicate swinging away, but once again, he's going to have to play inside this hut if he wants to make sure that he is maintaining his shield integrity. Baboon currently weighing up how he wants to try and make this as a rotation. Coming out of the left-hand door instead, going to spot out Pika.
Oh, Pika gets spooked off. Nice, nice. It's exactly what Reptile needed. Don't want to control the high ground again. We know how aggressive the Divas love to get, controlling the high ground. Again, yeah, Pika on the high. Oh, he does get booped, but not quite able to get pushed off. However, being isolated on that high ground does mean he gets demeched. Panic finding that one at least. Nice little bit of aggro onto Duplicate as well, as he does end up going down. And Underwater Squad are going to be able to control the car for the time being, but the rest of Phase 2 just dying on payload to make sure they stall for additional time.
Great use of resources there from Underwater Squad to really protect Baboon after there was a flanking shield bash from King, because King got so aggressive as to try and make sure that Duplicate could follow up on a shield bash. But because of the resources that were invested in Baboon to keep him alive, Duplicate found himself caught about a day late and $1 short, no health left for him, and once you lose your Reinhardt, especially this far from spawn, it's all over. Like, you can try and grind that out as Underwater Squad, but very unlikely.
There's a rally from Kevin as the first ult. King has got his available as well, but using that a little bit later. Remember, armor does fade after 30 seconds after the previous patch. Nice shatter. Ouch. Finding 3 people as Duplicate was already down. No shield to worry about. Baboon picking up a few people, and that will be Underwater Squad once again, continuing to move the payload.
Crucially, Onyx also died before he could get that Graviton Surge. He may well get it from passive charge here, but you've got to remember that even 99% is not 100, guys. It means he cannot bring it out the second that he wants to. Derek can be a little bit quicker on that trigger finger. Reptile looks like he's ready to boot people away if they try and contest the cart here. He could try and go for a cheeky dual attack contest.
Ooh. Doesn't quite get the boop there, Harry, because Duplicate actually had a Xayah bubble on him, so you can't actually move him in that situation. There's the Graviton Surge from both sides, but this time Icy's going to eat one. Self-destruct launch on top of the payload. Duplicate gets booped out of the way. Onyx not quite so lucky though, couldn't quite scurry for cover and ends up going down. Xayah advantage for the side of Underwater Squad, but Baboon going down also. Another self-destruct comes out from Pika, finding 2 also, meaning like the Underwater Squad can't physically touch the payload now. There's too much healing going on. King actually activating the rally at the end of the fight too to keep Derek alive, but ends up going down to King himself. Baboon couldn't even get back in time either. Just maybe a bit of a wasted ultimate at the end, just desperation plays. And now Phase 2 are about equal distance from their own spawn.
They may have lost the fight, but I see he's now 3 grab eats versus 0 grab eats from Pika. I often talk about Pika's ability to beat those Gravitons. We haven't really seen it so much today. Derek seems to really have his number in terms of how he's trying to mitigate those ultimates. So look, Duplicate now has a perfect cover. Does have this corner, a Boon. He's taking it away from him. Now Duplicate's caught out in the open, making aggressive on him so easily.
Beautiful rotation. Nice soundbar as well from Reptile. That shatter coming out from Duplicate didn't do a wall of anything. 3 members caught in the grab as 4 as Nishik jumps in as well. There is going to be a shatter to kind of mix of it to give an additional bit of damage, but because Nishik was using that Transcendence, there was no real follow-up you could be had. There's still 300 HPS going on. Nishik finally goes down to the self-destruct. The same with Faz. Only 1 healer now available for Phase 2 in King. He's soon cut down. Same with Duplicate. And Underwater Squad finally get the payload booming again as they cap first.
They are going to get an extra 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which will bring them just above 3 minutes in terms of time available to try and cap second here. I don't see any compositional swap-ups, and of course, you rarely get compositional swap-ups from 3-3 as much as 2-3-3 because it gives away a huge amount of your ultimate economy. And speaking of which, Underwater Squad, they did have to invest quite heavily in that last fight. They only have a rally ready to go, but are building up to a couple of others. In Phase 2, they are all out. There's going to have to be a vanilla fight from them. They need to do something really well to isolate Baboon. It's going to be down potentially to Faz again to make this assassination play. Here he comes.
Oh, there he is. Oh, dear. Didn't quite find the angle as Baboon was near that mega health pack instead. And in fact, Reptile finds a nice move on to Duplicate this time around. Baboon holding a shield for a fair while there and actually enabled Duplicate to get that shatter. A grab gets thrown out before Daryl actually can follow up with any of that damage on his own Graviton Surge. Onyx falls though to Icy with the help of that Discord Orb. A nice pin from Baboon on Duplicate, isolates Duplicate in the back line, and Icy takes quick care of him as he ends up going back to the spawn. And now once again, Underwater Squad just clearing out the rest of the payload. Nice vanilla fight from Underwater Squad once more. Like you said, they needed to make something stick, and they did just that. Derek building up to these grabs just so quickly.
Feels like Underwater Squad are really in tune with Faz's shenanigans now. They know when he's coming in, and it seems like Baboon is really doing well to play close to corners, so that if he does get booped, he is stopped by the physicality of the map instead of being stopped by the hammer swing of his enemies moving forward. Here comes phase 2, going in on the rotation. They have found out Baboon, who doesn't really have anywhere to go. He's going to have to just move forward here unless he gets some significant resource from his team.
Oh, there's a Graviton. There's 2 Transcenders, isn't there? Self-destruct landing on top. Baboon ends up going down to a pin of Duplicate as a beat has been used by Underwater Squad. You can see now phase 2 just huddling on this payload to make sure it can't move any further. And with Kevin falling, as well as obviously the Reinhardt going down earlier on, does mean they have to make a swift retreat as phase 2 are going to be able to back up to this payload. Now, what's important, Harry, is this payload is going to be moving backwards ever so quickly. So Underwater Squad are going to have to get a touch before they lose any more ground.
The excellent disengage throw there from Underwater Squad did mean they didn't give over quite as much ult charge as you'd expect from a 3-3 or 3 tanks and 3 supports. Derek's going to use his personal barrier, get that energy rolling as Baboon going to give up the high ground. Now he's pressuring the car himself, and Duplicate going to be giving each other menacing stares as there is potentially incoming Gravitons.
2 people jumped into that grab. There's the self-destruct. King survives though. It breaks his own shield as Duplicate does land that shatter, but it only hits 1 person. King ends up going down again because he is isolated all alone. Perfect prioritization once more from Underwater Squad. Both teams, in fact, aiming for these bricks before they can get these rallies off, providing so much additional armor to everybody on side with the rally. Now, a self-destruct is launched in from phase 2 as the self-destruct goes a little bit wide as Onyx was managing to get 2 people attached to that payload. Now Onyx ends up falling, same with Duplicate, and Underwater Squad end up getting this payload moving once more, or not with a second to spare though, as overtime is only just coming in.
King has returned, but he will not last for long, and Nishit will also need to feed his body onto the car. But an interesting little thing that occurred there was that they took out... There was an attempt of King and Duplicate for a Bash Shatter. We saw how aggressive King was positioned, and he actually lost his shield to the self-destruct of Icy while he was caught in the Graviton Surge to save his own life. And that meant it wasn't available to bash Baboon when Duplicate thought that King was in the ideal position for that combination. So because that resource wasn't available, Duplicate just ended up shattering into a shield, which was not ideal at all. He's going to try and claim as much space as possible here, and there's the door closing behind Underwater Squad.
2 beats from both Lucios. Duplicate gets booped in once more. Baboon actually got booped into the back line too and laid down the shatter. It's a pity that didn't hit anything, but the rest of his squad are going to be able to just clean up. That was a very, very nice boot from the Lucios, but like you were mentioning before, Harry, I think both teams are kind of recognizing when both Baz and Reptile want to push the Reinhardts into their own team in order to capitalize on the not on the mispositioning, but just on the positioning of the Rhines.
Yeah, Reptile's definitely man-marking Faz as he tries to go in for these cheeky plays, trying to get the boops on himself so that he may find himself in a worse position, because of course, Reinhardt's fragile when he's booped, but Lucio is the same, only 200 HP. Baboon's going to move forward, try and claim all of this space from Duplicate, holding up his shield and attempting to avoid an incoming shatter.
There's both rallies. That grab narrowly getting out. Pika was so close to actually eating that one up, and Icy with the triple kill with the self-destruct. That's what we wanted to see. Underwater Squad are going to be able to continue this payload on its journey to that 3rd point. OT will be triggered, however, as Duplicate is taking a very long time to actually die.
He is indeed. Will anyone be claimed by that self-destruct? Looks like it was mostly just a remake, and now it's going to be down to Pika to get onto that car, keep it contested, as Duplicate's going to want to return to the fray, but he hasn't respawned yet. His Faz eats and grab. That's 4.
Thank you very much, says Icy. 4 grab eats in this match already. Baboon lanes down that shatter, same with Duplicate. Duplicate a little bit better off, but Baboon jumps straight in front of his team in order to shield all that damage away. Healing all the damage as well is Panic using that trance. And now it's just a war of attrition for Underwater Squad. Duplicate is going to get caught on that payload with that Graviton, as well as 2 beats coming out in the end to try and elongate this fight. But it might as well all be over as Icy launches another self-destruct. Doesn't quite kill off the Wrecking Ball, but it's only a couple of meters before they're able to deliver.
Sonic's returning on the Tracer, but I think it's all said and done now. Jaws, quick smack of the hammer. Gonna ruin Icy. He has Sonic's number. You cannot have this many Gravitons eaten over the course of a series. That's 4, and Pika's eaten none thus far. That's such a disparity in terms of how effective these divas are being with their defense matrices. And you can often count any eat and grab as basically nullifying a potentially lost fight. So that's like 4 fights that potentially have been won by just good timing on right clicks there by Icy. And that adds up over the course of a series, especially when we're looking at things like Junkertown, where momentum is so important and where Graviton can store your momentum if you are an offense. If you can't get value from your diva, if you can't mollify defensive Gravitons, then you are going to have a lot of trouble. Pika needs to either step it up, or its Onyx needs to pay more attention to Icy.
The mental game plays into that as well when you think about it, because if you're throwing out grabs and they are getting eaten time and time again, how are you actually going to feel when you do get another Graviton Surge online? You're probably going to play it a little bit more passively. You're probably not just going to go for these not Hail Mary grabs, but grabs that are very aggressive, because you're afraid of it being eaten. So that might just be playing on his mind at this very moment in time. Onyx playing a little bit more passive is going to mean that Derek is going to have an upper hand in that situation, because he is going to be able to play maybe a little bit past his Rhine shield while he's getting charged, and just being a little bit more aggressive with his Graviton Surges, just aiding to that momentum that they were able to push forward with.
Yeah, speaking of momentum, Phase 2, theirs has definitely been stalled right here. They are still on match point, but Underwater Squad are definitely threatening to take them to that tiebreaker. 2-1 in favor of Phase 2, but they are yet to complete Junkertown. Ice is going to try and take this high ground, and Pika's now going to steal it from him.
Oh, nice Flame Strike. Does catch Kevin in the back line. Already a lot of healing now down. Baboon's going to go down as well, as Faz finds the boot and finds the kill. Nice little clean up through. Faz even finds the melee in the back line. I know that feeling all too well, Panic. Don't worry. Do not worry.
Well, when I talked about motifs and how Icy seems to be doing better than Pika when it comes to getting value out of this, we've also got to talk about how often it is that Kevin is the first death. When this occurs, you no longer have access to the extra armor. You no longer have access to your burst healing, and your burst healing is your main defensive tool for sustaining your Reinhardt when he gets dived on. After you lose the Zaya bubbles, you need that repair pack, and if you're often dying because you're too aggressive on a Brigida, that means that Baboon is not going to have a good time at all.
King doing the same thing. Wow. Nice little whip shot, actually. Just catching Baboon off guard. Doesn't do a crazy amount of damage either, mind you. Duplicate lays out a couple of people flat on their backs. As Pika's going to be able to clean this one up rather easily. Especially with the Brigitte healing too, like you said. If she does end up going down, you haven't got that burst healing, but you're then relying on healing from a Lucio and a Zenyatta, whose healing isn't that great. Like,
yeah,
at the end of the day.
30 HPS. That's like a combined maybe 50 HPS?
And at that point, you're then forced to use the amp in a non-ideal way, because you're like, okay, so we need to amp into them because they haven't got amp now, but you're like, well, we haven't got Brig, so we actually have to amp heals instead in order to actually sustain through these fights.
Exactly that. It's all about being able to manage your resources, and managing resources doesn't even come into it when you don't have the resources to manage because you're dead. Kevin needs to be far less aggressive here. He needs to be playing to help Baboon rather than playing to be the hero. He keeps getting caught out. Faz going in for the aggressive move again.
Cheeky boy Faz just jumping straight in. Self-destruct just plonks straight on top of Icy's head. Pika does manage to find one kill in Baboon. That beat coming out from Underwater Squad just narrowly not saving Baboon. He obviously was booped. Another Graviton Surge comes in. Nothing eaten this time around, as well as the self-destruct. Again, a little bit of desperation play maybe. Could have saved it for the next fight, as there was nothing extra to remove that Reinhardt shield from Duplicate in order to skill the rest of the team. Icy ends up getting demeked in the back line, as well as King using that rally to finish out the fight.
Duplicate there also with basically the defensive peel Earth Shadow, putting 4 people on the ground, making sure they couldn't follow up on that Graviton self-destruct combo, because of course he would be afraid that there may well be a shield bash coming through or any additional damage coming onto his shield which might break it. Being able to mollify all of that by bringing down the Earth Shadow, big brain play from him, but now that does mean that the Baboon can be so much more aggressive. Doesn't have to worry about an Earth Shadow coming out of Duplicate. This is his fight to take.
No big combos, but Onyx is still near to another grab. Only 5% away. That beat is going to be met after that Shatter does hit the brick. King ends up going down, as well as that Graviton Surge coming out from Onyx. It's going to track up 3 people as Icy gets demeked. Baboon and Reptile end up going down. Now Derek just stalling his time on this payload. You see Panic actually in the backline, by the way, on the high ground, just doing so much work with Kevin. He's already taken out Onyx, and then now it's a Brig Lucio versus a Brig Zen. I'd take the Brig Zen any day, I'm going to be honest. And Panic just jumping straight on his like for like, giving the old 1-2, buckle my shoe, boot to the face, ends up killing him off. And there's Reptile killing fast as well. They managed to clutch it out with perfect positioning from Panic to save the day.
That's got to be so frustrating. Kevin's shield there just lasted so long against the damage of Faz, and it's like, we can't break it. It's got 500 health. We can't Discord orb for shield.
Oh my, if you could, imagine how more broken Zen would be. By the way, Zen's not broken. Please do not nerf him. I like to get free SR with Zen. Thank you.
Well, speaking of free SR, Duplic's going to be looking for it right here with this shield. Nishik was just as free though.
Well, not where you want to be if you're the Zen. King goes down once more, so not aiming for the brick this time around, more the Zen. Panic gets 3 kills, mate. There's no worries. Look, he's on the flank, mate. Panic's on the flank. He's up on the high ground. No one's noticing him at all. Until they're dead, of course.
Faz has been playing Assassin, and I think it's time to stop booping Baboon. You got to make a beeline for Panic.
You got to boot Panic instead. He's popping off.
You got to get him away from here. He just rotates around to this front line, and to be fair to phase 2, they did try and make a rotation which would force Panic off the high ground, but they actually decided not to go with it. They actually tried to fake it out so that Panic would lose his position, but then it was just like, oh, I guess I'll go back up these stairs and be untouchable, because he's got such a good sightline onto the entirety of that final pathing of the payload. Now they are actually going to try and force him off the high ground.
Panic, no more. You see Pika like looking around.
Finally.
What? He hates it. Pika finally gets a grab eat. It's 4-1 at the moment on grab eats, going the way of Icy at the moment, who does find a self-destruct kill onto Faz and kill off Nishik as well. Baboon gets slammed into the wall, but it doesn't matter because Duplicate was obviously alone. They do manage to get the grab eat Harry, however, they aren't able to win the fight. They have got combo coming up as Onyx is only 25% away from his own grab.
They got combo, but they ain't got time, Jaws. 1 minute and 10 seconds is all that stands between them and going to that tiebreaker map, which I believe will be Busan today. Not quite sure. But once again, Underwater Squad are sticking up on the high ground. This is where Panic likes to be. And also, if Panic feels some aggression upon himself, he can just pop that Transcendence. And he can try and force it out from Nishik as well. Kevin and Baboon. They found him. They found him.
Yeah, he peeked his head round the corner. He was like, yeah, what's good, man? No. Back it off. You can see he's on the low ground now. Doesn't want to mess with any of that. There's the beat to Surge phase 2 forwards from Faz. They have almost got that Graviton Surge combo with the self-destruct, although they're only 10% away, so they're going to have to play it a little bit more slowly. Baboon's shield gets completely destroyed. Lays down the shatter. A counter shatter from Duplicate as Baboon was killed by Nishik. Panic uses that Transcendence to make sure they can stay in the fight, but they need to be able to find a pick. A Graviton Surge straight on the heads of Underwater Squad. They were already dead before it could even go off. Panic ends up going down finally. Apparently a 1000 damage self-destruct is what's needed to kill the Zen in the end. Phase 2 finally managed to cap that payload tower, but they've only got 1 minute and 40 seconds actually remaining.
I've only got 1 ultimate as well. That was such an expensive fight. 5 invested by phase 2, and I think Reptile was actually earth shattered or potentially shield bashed as he cast his sound barrier. So that means that's in the bin. That's not coming back. And he's going to wish that he had that later. Icy, once again, has the self-destruct ready to go, but Baboon here is going to be able to try and be incredibly aggressive. He does know where Faz is, going to be trying to track him, make sure none of those assassination boops come through. But look, his shield's already so low, he's got to get aggressive.
Self-destruct in the corner, shield removed, Duplicate dead. The Panic's going to go down as well. Underwater Squad, they knew phase 2 didn't really have anything in that fight, so they're able to just run them over. Harry, they've got 1 minute remaining, mate. Phase 2 are 2-1 up in this series as well. This could be a potential reverse sweep if Underwater Squad are able to hold off for the next 50 seconds.
That's a brute force entrance right there. Baboon needs to decide where he wants his line to be. Looks like he's going to try and play around this micro corner behind this small pillar. Icy is going to play a little bit of a rotating front line here, eat some damage for Baboon's shield, but now he's lost his shield. He does have the Discord orb, and there's the Graviton Surge.
Grab onto 4 people as well. The Transcendence from Nishik might just save them as there's no Graviton Surge to actually combo with it. The Shadow does hit the ground from Duplicate, and he manages to catch Panic completely off guard. The rest of Underwater Squad donating their bodies to the payload, but with only 20 seconds remaining, Harry, this is going to be a 1-fight map.
And not only that, once overtime begins, Underwater Squad don't even need to win a fight, they just need to get phase 2 off the cart, and that can be achieved with a Graviton Surge like we've seen phase 2 do before in our extra rounds of King's Row. Pika's taking a little bit of poke right here. We'll try and get Icy off the high ground, but doesn't have what he needs. Here's a first grab.
Grab attaching themselves to the payload. Kevin, oh, they're all dead. It's too late. The kill feed just goes blue as phase 2 just run amok over the Underwater Squad. They only use 2 ults in that fight as well in the rally and the grab, and they've still got 3 to work with in the next.
In the next couple of seconds, I guess. Panic
yeah, I guess so.
How they layer or stack their support ultimates will determine how well Underwater Squad can make this work. If they stack these ultimates, it could be all over.
3 meters in a self-destruct into a massive shatter coming through from Duplicate, aiding to the kills of Pika. 2-man self-destruct. Derek gets rounded upon in the back line, and Reptile and Icy just dying on the payload. Duplicate catching Reptile as he sinks back down to Earth. Couple of meters stood in their way. They managed to complete round 2. Underwater Squad and Phase 2 managed to get to the 3rd checkpoint in OT as well. So they both will have a minute remaining now in order to make their final stand.
Oh, we go into extra rounds, Jaws. I'd like to think that Phase 2 had good enough ultimate tracking that they knew both of the support ultimates from Underwater Squad were available. So the second that we saw Panic bring up the Transcendence, Pika decides, okay, you know what doesn't care about Transcendence? Burst damage. And I can supply that with my self-destruct. So at that point, it means that Reptile either has to stack his support ultimate by using his sound barrier to help people survive the burst damage, or Reptile just has to trust that people will be able to get out of the way. But Phase 2, they have so much control with Faz's boots for whip shots, duplicate body blocking sometimes, and that means that everyone can be corralled into the area of that self-destruct. So they try to force support ultimate stacking or the loss of a fight. That was really good from Phase 2 to make sure that they could not sustain on the point with Underwater Squad's support ultimates.
1 minute in the bank. Are they going to pull out something rather interesting? I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I want to say they'd pull out something a bit weird, but I don't think that's actually going to happen. Maybe they stick on the Winston here. Are they that afraid of the high ground, honestly, from Phase 2 in order that they feel like they need to bring out Winston? No, okay, they switch over.
I think Baboon's just role-playing.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I was thinking too.
He'll grow up to be a gorilla one day. Duplicate once again not going to be giving any space away. Straight away he is on the cart, and why not? With only a minute left, they can burn so much of the time by forcing Underwater Squad to have to chew through these large health bars. Pika's got control of the high ground, but look at this. Reptile coming out on that Widowmaker. Won't be there for long.
Yeah, oh, okay. So, yeah, I thought they might just pass something weird here, just to try and maybe send a couple of shots towards Faz or Nishik, because obviously Faz likes to go aggressive. They seem to have his number for the most part. And you can see Kevin there, instantly stunning Faz as soon as he was going aggro, just aiding to the kill. Baboon's going to go down as well as King. This is a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Underwater Squad right now, and they have spawn priority too. Kevin is also going to fall, but it's going to be so long for Phase 2 to actually get back to this payload, mate.
Yeah, it's going to take so long for Phase 2 to rejoin their team. Pika's going to be up on the high ground, but the payload has begun moving. We do not have a draw potential here. Baboon going to move forward, not yet wanting to give up any off his shield health in return for that poke. And you imagine Baboon's going to be trying to also heal up.
Oh, Pika's been caught out completely on the mega health pack. You can see him using those thrusters to try and get up and over, but it wasn't enough. That's one man now down for Phase 2. Is not going to be available for the next fight. Kevin once more goes extremely low, and Icy actually has the high ground as well. Discord on top of Onyx, and perfect target calling and prioritization to kill him off, which means Duplicate is left completely alone in the front line. Wow, that was questionable from Pika. I'm not entirely sure if he was just chased down or messed up his thrusters, but I just saw him just isolated in the corner. And now Underwater Squad have a very, very real opportunity to actually cap the first point.
Questionable all over there from Phase 2. Duplicate also went over into the hut thinking he'd get a sneaky charge, but while he was in there was no one to defend it. Sonics, he got given the Discord and was quickly mulched by Underwater Squad, turned into fish food. Duplicat's going to have to jump down. He's in the way of the cart now. There is also the soundbar and a blocked shatter.
Block shatter. That Graviton Surge wasn't quite eaten by Pika this time around either. Self-destruct landing on top does get blocked out as there was nothing to remove the shield, as Duplicate was already dead. Now with that, with him falling, Kevin is going to get traded up, yes, but that sound barrier should just save them. A desperation self-destruct is going to destroy Baboon's shield and destroy his life as well as Faz comes up big. In fact, Onyx is so high charged right now, is he going to be able to cut through Icy's neck as well? Derek is going to go down also, and Duplicate being back means they're going to have to step off the payload. Underwater Squad, even though they managed to kill off Duplicate at the start of the fight, end up losing out just before the first checkpoint was acquired.
That was such a confusing fight because they used the Graviton as Peak was about, I don't know, maybe 89% of the way towards self-destruct, and they thought maybe he'd get the remainder of a charge by just firing the micro missiles into the Graviton, but wasn't available, so then he had to go for the desperation play with that self-destruct, which didn't get anyone. It just forced positioning. But that forcing of positioning was actually really cool because it forced Baboon to turn his shield away from Phase 2 to block out that self-destruct, which meant that it could be farmed up by its Onyx from behind the high charge Jaya and Discord Orb. That really hurts. That's about 260 DPS, which would carve through a Reinhardt in a matter of seconds. And you combine that with Nishik also throwing in his Discord Orbs. Can't hit those headshots from behind, but it's still a significant amount of damage. Baboon taken away does mean that he's going to take so much longer to return to a fight than Duplicate is.
It's a whole lot of damage. Whole lot of damage. Phase 2 now on the offense. They got a minute. 1 minute to get 84 meters in order to claim the series. Remember how much of a time bank that you looked at Voskaya, and it looked like Underwater Squad had really just pulled it together, but now they have to defend for a minute. They're obviously going to hold fairly close, you could imagine. You can see Panic sounding a little bit further backwards, though. He's going to be able to obviously AWP harmony people from that distance, but actually, tell a lie, Underwater Squad not holding up to spawn door.
Do not want to potentially go for those 3 fights, instead want to take 2 well-positioned fights with Baboon being able to play around this corner, but it looks like there's going to be an attempt to take his space away, especially from Faz coming in with that boop.
Boops him straight in, and Pika like rounding him on him again. Duplicate is also going to kill Kevin. You cannot let Faz get away with this. They were so good at punishing him, but one good boop from Faz just nets them so many kills, and now Underwater Squad have 1 fight. It may have been well positioned, Harry, but they were not expecting the Lucio Inquisition.
I've got 2 numbers for you, Jaws. 14% and 83%. Duplicate's got such an advantage on that Earth Shatter. He can play as aggressive as he wants. Baboon, he's going to have to be incredibly timid. He's got to be incredibly trepidatious. He cannot allow his team to get shattered here, but Duplicate's already got it ready. He had a big fire strike, and he can move on past if there's a good boop here, potentially. He wants to lay it down.
This is it, Harry. This is phase 2's time to actually claim it. Oh, the Boob on Duplicate still manages to catch Reptile, though. And Baboon's already dead. This could be phase 2's chance to actually guarantee themselves a series. They trade 1 for 1 as Onyx ends up going down as well, but that self-destruct from Icy found nothing. And Nishik activating the Transcendence just surges them forward, but a very late one from Underwater Squad actually landed on top of the sound barrier as well. It's going to just make sure they survive the rest of the fight. Duplicate gets grabbed onto the payload as Baboon comes back on the wrecking ball to try and clear out the rest of the members of phase 2. They're just struggling to find any semblance of a pick. 83 meters was not acquired in one slight by phase 2. Underwater Squad still in the series as they take Junkertown, and we go to our map 5.
How did this happen? They got the earliest pick on Baboon. If they just stabilized after having taken away Baboon, it was in overtime. Who would have taken at least 12 seconds to respawn? I don't know how this happened, Jaws. Phase 2, they got to be kicking themselves right now, because now not only have they lost a good amount of their map differential potential of having taken this with a +2 map score, but also they've potentially given up the series. Underwater Squad, well, they're going to be looking for their second win. Phase 2 was so close to being able to take their first series win, but we're going to have to decide it all on our tiebreak, which I will go and check now. I think it's Busan. Oh,
Busan would make a lot of sense.
It's actually Nepal.
Nepal. So that this is one of the things that we talked about before, in the fact that you need to punish Faz. If you looked back to phase 2's attack, and you saw how Faz was actually phase 2's defense. Sorry, Faz was so heavily punished for jumping forward into the rest of Underwater Squad. He got a shield slam and then instantly followed up with a fire strike plus any like random bits of damage that were coming forward. That time around, Faz was not punished whatsoever at the end of it all, and was still able to actually kill off Underwater Squad's Ryan. They still killed Baboon, and then phase 2 somehow managed to lose the fight. Like you said, if they did manage to stabilize, it also came down to the fact that there was 2 support ultimates going off at the same time, and when you do see that, it is very much panic. You feel it's very much panic stations for the team if you're seeing a sound barrier and a Transcendence going off. But then because Underwater Squad let those go so late, and then phase 2, they just ran out of juice. They ran out of steam because their Transcendence had already disappeared. Their beat had already disappeared.
There's also always a potential that Nishik didn't have an active Discord orb during that Transcendence, could have been cleansed away by one of the bubbles from Derek. If he was the recipient of that Discord, he could cleanse it from himself with his personal bubble, and you can't reapply that during the Transcendence cast, which means that for a while your team aren't actually doing as much damage as possible. And there were some great choices of target prioritizations from Underwater. First they went for the Reinhardt, then they went for the high charge Jaya, which is essentially left phase 2 rather toothless, despite the amount of players they had. They had 4 players, but one of them was a baby diva, the rest were supports. They couldn't really do anything with them.
Maybe Diva's doing absolutely nothing. You got no damage fall off on the little micro blaster though, so that's something, I guess.
You can snipe.
Yeah, you can snipe Zens in the back line, or Lucio's going for some crazy boobs. Although it is a projectile, technically, it's not actually a hit scanner weapon, so, you know, it didn't do him much. End of it all, though, Underwater Squad looking to make the complete comeback on phase 2. And you got to remember, and what we touched on the start of the series, was Phase 2 have always taken maps off of teams. They've always taken either that be 1 or 2. They just can never clutch out the end of the series. And now Underwater Squad are ready to make a reverse sweep. Phase 2 need to be able to win this map in order to have some semblance of making it to the top, making it in contention for Contenders. And if they lose this, they're 99% mathematically out of the competition because it's already halfway through. So
you mentioned a theme with Phase 2 here as well, that they often take maps but can't close out series. And that makes me wonder about the mentality of Phase 2 as to how they handle stress when it comes to their calling and their communication. Because being this close to victory and having it slid from under you potentially is a very stressful situation, and the team needs some real leadership to be able to pull themselves together here on the pool.
The pool's a strange one too, because it can again go down to what kind of maps we do end up getting, because we are going to see potentially Sanctum, which can be played out 3-3, but you can also run Hogorissa, which is also fairly popular because of the Pit of Death. So I'm kind of thinking that if Underwater Squad end up going to Sanctums first, or like, at least get to play Sanctum, they're going to be able to take that one. We'll have to wait and see, of course, but...
Duplicate also had a pretty good Orisa on Ilios well when we first ran out there. There was an eventual recap by Underwater, but of course Phase 2 won out that final fight with brought videos. And
I just want to point out something real fast. I didn't know, because obviously all the names are capitalized in game, but when you like type in text chat, like they're like capitalized like they would be written out, like how you actually set your battle tag up. But baboon is actually babo. It's like babo and then babo on, or like it says baboon obviously, but babo means fool in Korean. Just the smallest tidbit in the world, but it's not quite a fool this time around. They are looking for the reverse sweep, of course. Baboon has also been, again, we talked about how they've been punishing Faz, but he's also been almost on another level when it comes to tracking how Duplicate is using his shield and how much charge Duplicate has in his shield as well. Because as soon as the Reinhardt shield does take damage, it does eventually degrade to 0, but the animation of the shield degrading is pretty obvious as it has all the cracks in it. It feels like Baboon is really on top of tracking how much shield Duplicate does have. It does seem like Duplicate's shield is breaking more often than not first. And again, that comes down to like the focus fire and the calling of targets as well.
Yeah, shield pressure definitely coming out in spades from Underwater Squad, doing a really good job making sure Duplicate does not feel comfortable in any position. And something else Baboon's really doing is he's making sure that he's forcing Duplicate's avenues of retreat to be straight lines as opposed to things that utilize vertical cover. Not vertical cover, physical cover. And that means that when he sees Duplicate playing around a corner, he will invest as much shield health as is needed to get his entire team around that corner, so that when Duplicate feels the pressure, he can't rotate around that corner, because he's already stuck on one side of it, which is really good for making sure that Duplicate often falls early.
Well, Harry, we're not going to see Sanctum just yet, or at least not entirely sure. Of course, it is a 3-map rotation in Control. We are going to see Village as our first map. And just both teams going to run the same kind of thing. There is Pika on the Mei. I say Comps, as I just see Pika Mei. Nice little wall, but most people are already inside. You can see Underwater Squad there waiting for the speed boost before they actually rushed onto the point because they spotted the Mei early. Unfortunately, they do get cleaned up as they are fighting against the backboard. They can't even use the small bits of cover outside of the wall. They do eventually get cleaned up. This Mei comp kind of popularized by Windstrike back in EU, who were unable to play Xayah and D.Va at the same time, so opted for a little bit of something different. Now CIS Hope, of course, in Contenders trials over in the EU side, but this is so good for Mei because those walls, those doors onto the point are the exact thickness of the actual Mei wall as well.
Yeah, Kevin's going to get caught out right here. Duplicate's going to have to swing into this and attempted to charge from Baboon's going to find himself in a rather sticky situation.
Yeah, they're going to get cleaned up very quickly. Our wall is going to provide quite a bit of a nuisance. Duplicate does land himself a shatter as well. Baboon is only 65% of the way to his. This could be a very, very snowbally map, Harry. We're already up to about 40%.
Well, speaking of snowballs, Pika 60% towards that blizzard, which of course does come from a little snowball. And Pika's wall here does actually give an effective backboard for Duplicate to go for short charges to deliver burst damage if he would like. Underwater Squad going to have a full compositional solve up here. Don't want to deal with that wall anymore. Baboon is on his eponymous monkey, and he is going to be trying to go 1v1 with Onyx.
Not quite the fall in the Winston just yet. Didn't get caught off by Pika. Pika, though, only 15% away now from actually acquiring that Blizzard. Derek doing a good job just punishing Onyx, who's actually stepped outside of the point. There is going to be an early Transcendence coming through from Nishik. They know they don't really have to worry about a grab here, only really the Dragons and maybe a Barrage to actually mitigate all that damage, so he can use that fairly early. He felt punished though, and you can see now themselves walling themselves on the point to buy even more time.
A neat disengagement there. Here comes a Blizzard coming out from Pika.
No one caught. Yeah, no one caught at all. Derek is going to lay down the barrage, and one is going to have to Nishik. Nishik actually taking Derek out of thin air. You can't really be damage boosting at that point. Kevin is going to trade 1-for-1 though, as Duplicate ends up going down as well to a Storm Arrow. But the rest of Phase 2, having just a distinct ult advantage, are going to be able to clear out Underwater Squad. We're at 95%, Harry. I'm not sure anybody's going to be able to touch. Baboon's going to come on in, but he's 2% away, but he actually gets grabbed completely off the point. And Flame Striked as well. Phase 2 with 100-0 on Village. This is almost a repeat, by the way, of what happened earlier on. Like, this is... If this goes 100% to 5% this next map, I don't know what to do with myself.
Scripted, my dude. Scripted. We are going over to Sanctum, however. This is where you're less likely to see those 3-3 compositions because Reinhardt is so vulnerable to those boops into the pit, and if you can remove a Reinhardt back quickly, your 3-3 will very quickly fall apart. Baboon, we do actually see two different approaches here, providing our team stick on what they are currently hovering in the spawn. Baboon's going for the Orisa, whereas Duplicate is going for the Winston. Wants to try and claim a lot of space by using this 3-3 composition with the Winston, and that means he's going to have a lot of protection available, but he's not going to be able to do a huge amount of damage, especially to Baboon, and Baboon's got to be your primary target, unless you can try and bypass him and get onto Derek, but diving Derek's going to be incredibly dangerous with the new Fan the Hammer.
Yeah, flashbang, Fan the Hammer, roll, Fan the Hammer. That's one dead Winston. I'll tell you that right now. Faz going extremely aggressive again. They want to make sure they can catch, obviously, Baboon on the retreats here. Obviously, Orisa, not the most mobile of heroes. Can go golden, of course. Onyx almost gets booped into the whale. Oh, he does! In fact, I thought he actually got back onto the point, but no. Reptile finds the miracle boop onto Onyx, claims all that HP as ult charge as well, as Panic and Derek are going to be able to clean up from range. Pika goes for the backline dive, but is met with the McCree and the Brig, and is just almost going to stagger herself. But she goes for the quick reset, as we do see Underwater Squad capping the first point.
And the tactic there often was that they dived in with Duplicate and they had Pika roll in afterwards with the defense metrics up, which was an attempt to eat the flashbang and any Fan the Hammer that would come through. But they knew that after Duplicate had engaged, there would be no resources to try and hold back Underwater Squad. So instead they just rolled out and they took advantage of the sightline upon which Nishik, Faz, and King were trying to operate and just minced them apart with the additional long-range damage that they had.
Oh yeah. High Noon is going to get bubbled. Duplicate not quite caught in, but pushed away. Oh my goodness, that was close. He used that prime rage to get back up, but swiftly met to his demise once again as he gets a flashbang, Fan the Hammered, orbed and stunned as well by the Brig. Fast just trying to go for some extra ult charge as Reptile does boop and kill him. Onyx, Nishik, and Pika go for the reset off the edge of the map, and another continual hold here from Underwater Squad.
Pika seems to be doing a good job there of checking Derek, trying to make sure he isn't getting the maximum value out of those Fan the Hammers, but there are still so many other threats on Underwater Squad you've got to deal with, including boops from Reptile and incoming halts from Baboon, camper people in places they do not like to be, especially after they've used their movement cooldowns. You've got to watch out for those on Duplicate once he's used his lead.
Both rallies have been used. That defensive self-destruct hits the ceiling. Onyx is going to have to be careful, but does absorb all of that into his own shield. He's very high charge right now. But that Transcendence coming out from Underwater Squad is going to make sure they're going to just sit in this corner. One person now capping the point. This is what they need to do. They need to force someone from Underwater Squad to actually go to cap. The Deadeye comes out and actually kills Pika. Big self-destruct from Pika as well. Does manage to kill 2 people and kill the Supercharger also. But 85% has been acquired from Underwater Squad. They can just go again here, Harry. Phase 2 are going to have to go for this recap. It's going up towards 90% as the rest of Underwater Squad do die on the point.
Once again, really clutch defense metric usage from Pika. I have to keep pointing it out because he saved Faz so much there. Faz actually got flashbanged when he went for a cheeky boot, and there was an incoming headshot towards him, courtesy of Derek, but it was well eaten by the defense matrix. Really saved that Lucio's life, meaning that they could keep the boot pressure up there. And now I actually see Baboon heading over to the Reinhardt. He's going to have to go down the back here so that he does not risk getting booped off.
You can't risk it. But guess who's going to be in the back line? It's It's going to be Nishik. He's going to be more than safe. Jumps in with the Transcendence. A little bit of parkour over the side. And now everybody's trapped inside this room. A lot of cleave damage coming out from Duplicate, who's earned himself a Primal Rage. Both rallies have been used as well, so everybody just incrementally gaining armor. But you can see the target prioritization on this Winston, just trying to boot that Brigitte away from the rest of the team, so they can't actually gain armor. They continue to hold, however, as the rest of Underwater Squad is still trapped inside the small room.
Attempts to boot people off right here. Once again, they're trying to leverage the nature of this point. They're going to come out with that sound
That's what they were waiting for. That sound barrier, Harry. Faz trying to get some cheeky boots as well. That Graviton Surge will come through. A self-destruct right on top of it as well as the Transcendence for the healing. Pika finds his second two-man self-destruct of the match. RB Underwater Squad going for a swift reset, but Pika gets two nice thruster kills on Baboon and Derek to actually net himself a whole lot of ult charge for the next fight.
Another half available for Pika. Duplicate also did really good damage into that Graviton Surge, not only with his cleave, but he also got a really good short leap to deliver 50 damage to everyone who was caught inside, being at the maximum part of the cone of effect that is used by the Winston jump pack landing. And now he's going to cleave again. Good block!
Oh, no. Into the bubble, Harry. Onyx gets booped off into the pit. The self-destruct is launched high. Kills Faz. However, you can see the target prioritization is Derek in the back line, but he's so high charged. Derek doesn't have really anything to worry about. Someone has to touch as it is 99% for phase 2. Reptile tried to actually help Icy and the Zaya in the back line, but Derek was just so isolated. It's now going to leave Baboon alone as well. Phase 2 are just sectioning Underwater Squad, splitting them up in two and just cleaving down either side. Derek gets booped off once more. The rest of phase 2 are just going to be able to sit on this point, and it is 99 to 89 as overtime ticks down. Phase 2 take Nepal 2-0 and their first series win in NA Trials.
Their first series win, and they can be proud of that one. They brought it back at the end, but Baboon, I gotta wonder at the end there, what did he think was gonna happen with that Winston bubble? He just shattered straight into it. I don't understand, Jaws. It baffles me. And here will be the double boot. Boom.
Oh, bam. He didn't even see, the thing is, he didn't even see Baboon. He just went towards the Sire. 100% kill participation from King, by the way. Pretty cool stat. Damn, no, you don't see that all too often, but
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Briggs is Brig is definitely the hero where you get kill, where you're more likely to get high kill participation. So King doing a good job of rallying around his team. But phase 2, what a turnaround! They finally managed to take down Underwater Squad in 2-0 fashion on Nepal, netting their first win in Trials 2. That was so nerve-wracking for them. And something you mentioned at the ending rounds in Junkertown was their mental coming into this next game. They were always able to clutch out map wins against teams throughout the last week or so, but were never able to round it out with a victory. Maybe they finally patched up the mental, avoid the reverse sweep from Underwater Squad, and claim the series 3-2.
Yeah, let's hope that that mental state really can sort of carry on itself into our next week of trials, so they want to try and pick up another 2 wins if they have any chance of getting into Contenders proper. And even then, going 3-4, it's a little bit dicey, Jaws. It's a little bit dicey.
And they're facing Bermuda, and then they have to face Paradigm. So Bermuda has already proven themselves as fairly tough opposition. They've only lost 1 series so far against Square One, and they drew one of those maps as well. It was a 3-0 scoreline to Square One, so that is a really, really tough match. But then they face against Paradigm, so maybe that's a little bit easier in that sense, just going on the scoreline, and Paradigm not doing so hot over the last couple of weeks. We'll have to wait and see, of course. We haven't got another map coming up next, and it will actually be Bermuda, so we can see if they're still going strong.